Yeah.
Look at these now.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Heritage Preservation Commission for January. First item of business is election of officers. Do I have any nominations or anyone?
Are you on the vice or the president?
Either. But let's start with vice.
Well, I'm currently vice chair. I'd be happy to continue.
Okay, president? Anybody want it?
No, Ann.
And Earl.
Ann Earl.
Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Okay, we have Kara for vice and Ann Earl for chair. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're it. Okay.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. Approval for the minutes from the December meeting. Did we get the dates straight in that? Isn't this only yet? Yeah, okay. Are there any changes, amendments, suggestions? If not, I will call for approval of the minutes.
I will make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes have been approved. Design review for, I'm saying Soziel, Restaurant and Bar, Elwood?
In your package, you can see that we've got design review for the canopy and sign, and then signage on the window itself.
Is this a dark window, or is this, because it looks on the picture, do we need to put a picture on this visual, on
It's probably just from reprinting it.
yeah.
It is fairly dark, though.
Well, is this the old pub and patio?
No, it's
Or-
pantry.
Oh, pantry,
Pantry.
okay. Oh, the other
I
one
think
is the
they're
old pub.
clear.
Right.
Yeah, they're dark, but
They're tinted, but
they're tinted,
Tinted,
but
but-
yeah.
they're not this dark.
So we've got your for souls is right. Yeah. If you can ask
Or are
him-
you here?
Yep.
Okay.
Going to step up to the mic here, state your name and address. They can get some questions answered from you.
I'm Michelle Seifert. Do you want my address or the socials
Your
address?
address.
Your address.
I'm at 1405 5th Street North in New Ulm. They're
Okay.
clear windows.
That's kind of what I thought.
They do look dark. That reprinting
They
did
have a
that.
Is there a curtain? Okay, it's just,
There's curtains behind it that, he's got dark red curtains pulled behind him
okay.
right now. And I don't know if we necessarily have the window decals on there. It might be a little overkill.
Okay, so there is no awning?
No, there is nothing on the top right now of the,
And, okay, because the initial picture I looked at had an awning and that's gone now, correct? So there's no awning on this picture.
On the revised picture, is that an awning yet, or is
Is
that
that an
flat
aw-
against the?
oh, that's the flat, okay. Sorry, we went with two different looks. We didn't,
Okay.
know. For awning would be our first preference. This is just a black background with the social restaurant and bar on it.
Okay.
And no awning, correct.
So you're asking for an awning, though?
Correct,
Is
that would be our
that's
first
correct?
choice.
Okay. So I was a little.
Sorry, I didn't know what y'all had in
And then
front
you
of
would still have, so the awning is the one that we have in our packet, which
Correct.
is, okay, the bar and restaurant is on the flap and the, okay.
Yep.
And is it, is there a color?
I believe it was black and
Is
white.
it just black and
Yeah.
white?
Black and white.
Doesn't say on the,
So is
Yeah.
it, you're still having an awning, which will be black,
right,
and then the letters will be white. And do you know how big the letters will be?
that's what I'm looking for. It
No,
has
there
no
is nothing
description.
on the size of the letters.
Or the type of print.
Well, I believe the print
The
would
print
be,
is the
the
same?
font would be that,
Okay,
yes. But it, as stated in our guideline, it's not supposed to cover more than 60% of the signage.
Right.
There is no reference to size of letters.
is the awning retractable, or is it fixed?
It would be fixed.
And I assume it, you went over that with the 3 feet out?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was my next question, yeah. Are there any other questions? Any discussion?
So are these the size of the letters that we're seeing?
Sid did this for us. I don't know at the moment how big they will be. Obviously, we won't be obnoxious with that. It'll be appropriate. I don't
Okay.
know what was filled out.
Nothing, that's what I was looking for.
I didn't know what he had down for size of letters, if that was even on there. It'd be close.
Okay.
Nothing, I don't think would be any bigger, of course, or anything, so.
I guess I'm okay with it as long as it fits in that guideline of the 60%, like Elwood was saying.
Sure.
The
The
size
awning
is
is the
fine.
sign
Yep.
and the drip edge.
Are you making a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion? Motion has been made to approve as presented with the awning and signage on the windows. Has been seconded. Is there, seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Congratulations, you have a
Thank
sign.
you.
And an awning.
Thank you.
Thank you for appearing. Alright, back to the top. Okay, awning for Mona Lena.
Yes, and the next design review is for another awning at, which would be the pub and patio. There is two new designs that they're looking at, one or the other. As you can see, one is,
I was looking at the, is that neon lighting above it? Or fluorescent lighting above it?
I don't,
Which, or is that stained glassy looking?
oh, that's it.
No.
Oh,
You
oh,
remember
there-
the
that
stained
row.
glass look that's,
yeah,
No.
Oh, there's
that's it.
another row in
There's
between.
another row here on,
It looks
right
like-
immediately above the awning, and it looks like two fluorescent lights.
Tubes,
Could be fluorescent lights, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Really.
Oh, on either side, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in both,
yeah.
yeah.
And it's in both pictures.
Yeah, on either side.
Because the initial request was for them to just come in and go over the top of the pub and patio one that's up there now.
Right?
But that wouldn't work. So now they're looking at replacing it completely.
Do you
With
know
the
what-
same,
Yeah.
same size and same design of the canopy with just the new
But-
sign on it.
Are they still going with the tan color? Now I see the second one
This
that
is a whole
gets
different
green.
That's
color.
her favorite on the thing, in that letter somewhere. The tan canopy is our preference.
Right, and okay, so, but the one that we got now, and I'm probably just from the print, is just, looks green, which
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yes,
that would be
it-
the tan.
it
Yeah.
would be it's still gonna be tan, okay.
Well, and tan fits in with the building.
Right.
Because of the-
I like the tan, I think,
Yeah,
I mean, that looks good. I like the bullets that they have in between each word on the end of the canopy. is the lettering of the Mona Lisa too small? Or do you think it'd be the right appropriate?
I think it's appropriate. I just think it's harder to read.
It is a little harder to read.
I believe they said that was part of their logo that they were choosing.
You know, if it's their logo though that they're using, you know, the I'm confused too, because on one it's Mona Lisa, the L is capital, the other one, it's not. But
Well,
Right,
Yeah,
the
it is.
tan one, it says it includes their branding.
so this is, if that's their branding, then it is what it is, I guess.
okay.
Is that lighting existing now?
I'd have to look, but I believe it is. I mean, if it's,
Because it seems to be if they're overlaying the building, it's
Right.
on the picture
Right.
on the thing. I do like the windows being. Tan color, you're okay with two now? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I was just, my question was the size of the letters, not that they're, get lost in this, I mean, there's a lot of room in the canopy area to put. But if that's their branding, that's,
Well, it depends on how big the canopy is, because the letters seem to take up the width of the canopy. I don't know, yeah.
and we have no one here to.
nope, no
Okay.
one's here to comment on it.
Does anyone have any further discussion? Color tan, lettering is black, I'm assuming.
Yes.
A size appropriate, you'll work that out.
Yep. Can do that.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
But we're leaving those fluorescent tubes?
Well, if
They
it's,
think
if
they're
it's
there.
existing, it's existing.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the building, but
I would just to cover it, put it, whoever makes the motion, approving the awning and signage and not, if that is a proposal, because I can't tell you that if they're there or not. those
Are they
lights.
underneath the existing canopy right now?
Well, you just,
To light underneath. That would be the logical.
Yeah.
No idea.
if they're there, but if that is a proposal, I mean,
If they're,
If
if
they were-
they exist, we can't say you
Right.
have to take them out. If they're putting them in, we can say we
They-
don't want them.
Correct.
I mean, the lights as they're shown here, I mean, wouldn't make much sense to me that it would be blinding you from reading the sign more than anything. It would light the lettering, but it would also be shining right in your face.
I think it's unattractive
Thus you need the
regardless.
canopy. Thus you need a canopy.
Yeah.
Underneath it makes more sense. If they were underneath.
Someone have the motion, Dave? Anybody?
I move we accept it, but what can we say about those tubes?
You can say if they exist, they can stay. If they don't exist, they aren't approved. Or they'd have to come and discuss lighting. Because the proposal doesn't discuss lighting.
it does, yeah, there's nothing on there.
They would have to come with an approval for lighting if they're adding lighting, and they're not the proposal doesn't add
That's
lighting.
exactly what I move.
Okay. The proposal is to accept the sign
With the tan.
with the tan awning and the black lettering. If the fluorescent lighting exists, it stays. If it doesn't exist, they have to come for lighting approval. That's the motion? Is there a
Yes, ma'am.
second for that motion?
second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we have approval. And you will convey that message?
Yes, I will talk to the owner on
Thank
that.
you. The city reports. Design guideline updates.
All right, so we got the draft back from Mr. Zahn on the updates for the downtown design guidelines. And we sent those out to you earlier, so you had a chance to review and see if there was any changes or anything. I did come up with Jeannie's name spelled wrong in there. We gotta take care of that. And Councilor Fisher's name is wrong. We've gotta take care of that. One of the questions, looking at is, kinda going along with this, is do we need to adjust the boundary where the Coleman house was? Or do we wanna leave it the way it is?
What page is that on?
I think the boundaries show in one of the first pages,
Yeah.
after the initial, it shows the
Okay.
downtown district.
The boundary where the Coleman House is on Center Street. It's on page 2. So you want to go, is there anything else prior to the alley on that block? Because right now it comes to the front of Midwest Bank, correct? Or is that?
Well, it comes to the parking, well, it'd be, their parking lot is taking up part of that parcel there. It'd be where they put the memorial sign and a little, I think it's
What is
25 feet of that.
behind, what is behind Ada Zinnia? Is, because it
It's a
goes
parking lot.
behind
Parking lot.
Ada Zinnia too.
Parking
lot.
lot there.
It's a public parking lot.
And then it's Anytime Fitness.
Yeah, so it would, to me, it would be, just become a straight line off of First South by Anytime Fitness and come right along Kemsky's building, would be the line.
So Anytime Fitness.
What
is
about
designation.
what about the red,
Has to be Kim's.
the local?
The local is still, that's down at, comes out down to First.
Okay,
Where?
you're not suggesting you modify that?
No, it would be just on, it would be just where that last, where Coleman House was standing on Center Street there. It would just take it, take
you
the
want-
black line down
To
to,
the alley?
well, it'd be to the end of, Mr. Bodie's building there, 518. Come straight across and would just follow in with that line coming across by Anytime Fitness on First South there. That's up to you. We'd still have to go to city council and change it because it is in the ordinances.
Ordinance.
Yeah, so it'd have to be changed there also.
That's right in here.
Okay. I have a question. Oh, this is German Street. I'm looking at Minnesota Street.
Look on the next page. Better.
Yeah.
No, left us out. Are you?
Across the street.
Oh, there you
Okay.
go. Absolutely.
I would say yes,
Go ahead.
but what does everybody else think? Do you want to move the line to change, to take the Coleman House out? Because the Coleman House is listed in here yet.
Right, that's, we would have to adjust that also.
I think it should
Right.
change.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't
Makes
pay to
sense.
put a parking lot in a historically significant.
Well, there's parking lots in there.
Yeah, the parking lot's in there. I recommend forwarding it on to council just because you have to, clean the ordinance up. You have to change it. It's not there.
Okay.
Just get it done.
Get it done.
All right.
Did you see anything else?
Going through the later part of the guidelines, it shows mounds on there still as what was in the original guidelines. It doesn't show it being redone, so we'd have to get that changed out. On the demolition of properties, it's still the same verbiage as what's in there now.
I thought that was weak.
And we had talked about it when Mr. Zahn was down here he talked about demolition by neglect, which we have that. I mean, that's pretty much covered, but I asked him and gave him some websites, is there something in there as a checklist that the owner has to go through before this can
Can you
be
send
forwarded
an
on?
email to Mike Coop and get,
But when I talked, Mike was down with Coleman House, and I brought that up
Right.
with him. He says that's not very typical at all, that somebody would have something in their guidelines for demolition, because it's preservation, it's not tearing anything down. And it took me a while to find even anything referenced to demolition in the preservation guidelines, but there was
Did,
one in Michigan and one out east in New Jersey or Virginia that actually had a checklist of, okay, have you tried this? Have you done this? That it was something there, because that's what the owner of the property was looking for when they first called, was what needs to be done before we can tear the house down. Well, we don't really have anything other than coming to this commission and saying we want to tear it down and then going on to city council. That's really all there is.
what did they put in the Faribault guidelines, and then there was another, what was the new one, Kara, that? that came-
Excelsior.
Excelsior was the
Excelsior.
newest one that we've gotten.
And did they not have anything in the Excelsior guideline?
I don't recall. I know Excelsior.
I thought they were putting something in. the
Well, they put in
Excelsior.
some verbiage on some other stuff that may and shall on some other items, which he says isn't very typical either. It's usually vague for a reason. It's a guideline, but they wanted something that they could fall back on. And he hasn't gotten back to me on this yet, on the demolition thing. I guess I'm just asking if that's something we want to pursue to see if there's a little more guidelines on this, or some type of checklist that we want to get in there.
I thought that one of the purposes of the past commissions was to strengthen that language after what we went through the last time, and I know we asked him to strengthen that language, so I guess I would like to see another
Okay.
shot.
All right.
Put at strengthening.
Okay, we will keep working on them with that then. Go through the pages here. On page 19, if you read that, this has to do with the anodized aluminum. I believe now it says cast iron aluminum with a baked or anodized finish to the right color is acceptable. So that was changed.
I had it on another page though also, where did I have a note about anodizing? Replacement windows, it doesn't say anything about anodizing. There it says aluminum with a baked finish. It doesn't say anything about anodizing.
What page is that on?
21.
Okay. And you want to go along with that?
Well, I think it should have the same language.
Okay. All right.
Consistent.
And then on page 23, we talked about expanding the color palette.
Right.
And there too, in the conversation with Mr. Zahn, it was, I mean, we're referencing earth tone, which majority of it is, but he said just about all colors were involved, not the hot pinks or the purples, that kind of stuff, but if it's a color that was appropriate at that time period. So he was gonna try to expand on that a little bit. We talked a little bit about getting a statement there on the corner or the backs of buildings. So if you've got a corner building, you've really got two fronts. We've got the front off of Minnesota probably and the front on a side street. So both of those would be relevant to coming in front of
They're
the
all-
commission.
All existing faces.
Yeah. But then there's also, now they're getting more into the backs of the building. It's a little bit of referenced in the old guidelines already. I guess the big one now would be the grand with the new addition on the back there that,
Well, that
That-
goes to period of significance again, because if you go through the pictures, there are murals painted, advertising murals painted on the buildings, and
well, right. I mean, that's one of the other things was the big signs on the side of the buildings. I mean, as we get into the pictures of downtown, you see
Waiting.
there's a lot of
I'm
those
looking at
there.
well, I do recall that when George's put the little, painting on the window, there was some question about it because it didn't come in for approval. It probably,
Oh,
No, I think that came in
Did it
because,
come in?
Artist,
yeah,
that did come in front of the HPC.
Yeah.
There was a lot of discussion on that.
because should it be a window or should it be
Right.
a painting?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
Discuss that.
there, you go into Faribault and other places, and the murals, you want to preserve them if you have them now.
Right. But then, but the back of the buildings are also getting, I mean, like right here with City Hall parking lot, you've got the whole back off of Minnesota here that
Right.
can be seen from Broadway. Is that something we should be looking at also?
Well, I would think it would be something we'd want to look at, but I think because those are as much faces that are public faces and trafficked areas as the Main Street or German Street
Right.
are. Because on any of the side streets, it's a face to the building.
Yeah.
The question I have is whether you want to go into, if you go into Springfield, they have these stagecoach murals and all of this stuff painted on their buildings, and is that signage, and that's the question I think that needs to be addressed.
Well, there again, it depends on who you talk to on what, 'cause I know we had that discussion with Bank Midwest
Yes,
with the banners hung up. Is that signage or was that just,
Well, the murals painted on the buildings, like in Springfield, and it's not signage, it's just
Right.
a scene.
yep. And then page 27, he did deal with the signage on the awnings on the face and still on the valance. And then one of the question was, the control of signage inside of a business window. Does HPC have any control over that, or is that,
We haven't in the past.
to my knowledge, no, it's always been.
The way our ordinance is written, it doesn't count for anything on the
No.
interior of a window.
Right,
No.
so we can leave that out. And then 28, dealing with the LED lights, he put some verbiage in about that. And that's really what we covered in that meeting with, when Tom was down here, end of December, somewhere in
I
there.
believe so.
Well, yeah, I have notes. Does anybody else have any notes or things that they had questions on? I mean, I think we have to mention legacy. I think this.
Right,
That
yep.
is, it's required, so. On page 2, was mine just not printing, or is boundaries all screwy
On which one?
on page 2, where it says New Ulm Commercial Center National Register District, it's like it's all,
District boundaries.
let's just fix. And then 21, I had the replacement windows needed to be
Okay.
anodized,
Yep.
and I love the speakers on the New Ulm Chamber building. And on page 64, taking out 513 Coleman House.
Okay.
Besides, we got the names and all of that corrected. Okay. Does anybody else have any notes for Elwood?
I wrote down 39, but why did I write it down?
Oh, on page 39?
They really did their front sort of different already.
Right.
They did the doors and everything, which they have in here. The only thing I think that he's looking for is if they do different lighting
Right.
sort of thing. Because right now it's just the red canopy.
Right, that picture kind of came about with talking with Mr. Zahn on where do you go back, and when we get into some of the pictures, there's a picture of Retzloff's pre-1912, and to me, there would be no way to get back to that original building configuration. This would be the significant time period that you'd be looking at from the 30s or 40s for that building.
Well, you'd have to take off all the art stone and,
Right.
yeah, you just, and actually, with the deco look of it,
I think it's appropriate.
it's significant,
Right,
you know,
right.
in itself, the
Right.
change is significant.
Yeah.
And you, and then 40 was like you had said with Mowen's Bar, which is redone.
Right, yep, we'd have to get a current
40,
picture on that.
41.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So then going on, kind of continuing on with the guidelines are, in your packet, there are numerous pictures of downtown, from First South to Third North, and on some of the side streets. These pictures were made available by Elroy Ubel. I want to thank him for sending those up to me. So I guess the
Most
the
of them are from
question,
the Brown County Historical Society, please
Yeah.
thank them too.
the big question is that it says that backlit signage is not appropriate. As you can see in the first picture here with the Christmas tree, this is from 1914. So there was already lighted signs at that time. Whether they were light bulbs sticking out or were there light bulbs in the sign, are they covered or not? We can't tell that, but it's a lighted sign. And then as you go through, there's, as we all know, that there was numerous people around town that did fluorescent lighting. So there's a lot of the fluorescent, the neon lighting. A lot of the neon lighting from the 20s and 30s and 40s that is very prevalent.
Call me crazy, I liked it.
Well, I mean, there's some pictures here from, I'm trying to get to it. There's that one picture,
Page 20, go to page 20.
page 20, okay, page 20.
20, we're going
It's
to
got to
page
be the
20.
cow.
No,
Yeah, I love the cow though.
it's actually the Chamber Building.
It is.
At one time was the Fred Miney Clothing Company, Kuppenheimer Clothes. The third of the building is painted signage.
Yes. So there are numerous wall paintings like that. There again, I don't know if you'd have to use the same building or if somebody wanted to do one, because I know there's one like on, where Lola's located at.
Oh.
You can see one at that location. So there's different ones.
That's made out of brick, isn't it?
Well, they have the reliefs there now that
The
are
reliefs
made out
are-
of brick. Because there was actually a painted sign on that wall at one time.
Term I've heard used for those, the painted on signs is brick ad.
So you can see there's on page 29, this is looking from First North down Minnesota.
What page?
29,
There's numerous signs sticking out over the sidewalks
yeah.
that are lit signs. There's a clock right on the corner there. My guess is that was backlit at that time already.
I would say. Are those flag poles? Or what are those poles?
Up on top,
Antennas?
could be antennas, could be some flag poles and stuff there.
It's for internet access.
I thought this was an awful big lightning arrest system or something.
And if you go to the next one, page 30, there you've got horse and buggies sitting on the street, and you've got some signage sticking out over the block already at that time.
Those are large awnings.
Those are very large awnings, yes.
Almost to the curb, aren't they?
Yeah, this is the street from First Street. So this is Tauschik's Green Clothier,
Yep.
Banaz, and this is State Bank. Oh, it is State Bank, it says, yeah, State Bank, yeah.
Notice that the awnings are all on the right-hand side?
Because it's
Well,
That's
yeah.
where the sun bakes in?
That's where the sun bakes in, yeah.
If you go to page 34, this, from what we can decipher, is probably from the early mid-50s, 53, 54, somewhere in that time period, with just all the signs sticking out. You've got, I believe it's the Farmers Merchant Bank on the corner with the sign, or with the clock there again, the big one, on the left-hand side of the picture.
Recall.
You know, that would have been a backlit sign to me, that they went to let that stay dark at night. But
And that sign was appropriate to the face of the building at that time because it was the period of the building. Am I not correct?
right, but our period goes from 1860 to 53.
Which is before
my time.
this.
I would say this is right in that area, right in that
Oh, I
that time
remember
period.
when they put that sign up, they changed the face of that building. I was gonna say it's in the 60s.
And I wouldn't say that's a 60s
You don't
picture.
think so?
Not with all the tail fins and stuff on the
Oh,
cars.
is it?
No,
Yeah,
that's
Oh, that's,
50s.
that's
is it 50s?
Yeah.
That's
There's a
mid
55,
50s
50, yep.
at best.
They're 54s, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
But our store was down from Farmers Bank, and
By the Sherwin-Williams
I
paint sign?
think in Sherwin-Williams, I think, went in there, and we moved in 59.
Okay.
So this has to be after that. That's what, yeah. Because that was Farmers and Merchants Bank?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the dairy bar is still there.
And the theater
Mm-hmm.
uptown.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the ice cream.
Dairy bar.
Dairy bar.
Peterson's, yeah.
Ruth Peterson.
The only question I have is if we start going to all of these signs, do they still have to stay a certain, I think, what are we now at
3 feet.
3 feet?
Yep.
And you could have a real assortment.
Well, I guess
Potentially.
that's what we need to
We have
decide
less
is,
clutter now. I think visually you have less clutter. But I like the lights.
In my mind, after serving liaison for 12 years, you start looking in all these cities,
Right.
writing a sign ordinance for a historic district, in my mind, is virtually impossible.
I think so too.
I mean, to dictate to a building owner, and he comes in, I'm looking for this 1940s look, here's my proposal, and our sign ordinance says, no, you can't do that.
But it has to fit with the building.
With the era.
The era of
Era
the
of the building.
particular building, it has to fit in. I mean, I can't see putting that kind of a sign on a Victorian,
An old Hummel building.
an old, yeah.
Well, just for example, look at the hotel sign.
At the
How-
Grand, yeah,
Okay, the Grand.
yeah.
How long, I mean, it's narrow and long compared to, I'm gonna pick on New Glass, paint and glass over there.
Correct.
And, didn't realize we were over there. That isn't, that's probably what, 2 feet by 3 feet? Or 3 feet across and 2 feet up?
I think bigger
Guessing?
than
Maybe it's bigger than that. And look at all the assortment of signs.
And that's my question. You could end up, I love the Soffert meat sign, but it certainly is larger than the 33 inches.
right, I mean, that would be
And
a hard one to make fit, but it's not saying they couldn't copy that sign at that 3 foot and want to put something up if somebody came in with a meat market and wanted to do something like that.
Or can you say up to a certain footage? Up to 3 feet or 3 feet
It's 3 feet is the max.
the
that can-
max?
Yep,
Okay. Well, that's,
right.
then could they go vertical?
Oh, yeah, as long as it didn't stick out more than 3 feet, and I believe it has to be 8 feet above the sidewalk.
yeah, the
Legal
old
states.
Eibner sign was certainly an example that you would look at for that because there were several different signs, but there was one that was totally vertical.
Right,
Yeah,
Yep.
here's the Irish
Yeah.
next picture, 35.
You know, so I guess that's kind of what we
And
need
you
to
were looking, the old office bar sign was certainly
Yeah.
vertical.
Right, absolutely, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
need to say that, okay, right now it says all backlit signs are not appropriate for the district. Is that something we want to stay with, or do we want to look at opening up this?
Well, the question
guidelines.
was, I think part of it is the backlit signs that are plastic. Are probably more susceptible to breakage and deterioration than an old backlit sign that was,
The middle.
Metal.
yeah. You know, one of the signs that comes to mind right now is, you know, we refused the athletic
Mhm.
place because it was plastic and internally lit. And when I look at those signs, most of them are advertised, and a lot of them are advertising signs too. If you, in the examples in here were the Johnson Motors and this stuff by Retzlaff.
Right.
There's a difference between a plastic internally lit sign and a neon
Or LED.
or porcelain sign, as far as, but if it fits the age of the building that it's on, how do you write that guideline?
Yeah, how do you word that?
And it goes right back to Dave's statement.
Yeah.
It's tough to do.
I think it has to be, I think we have to stick with the verbiage which is appropriate to the building and the neighboring buildings. Certainly,
That would be hard to do,
It would-
neighboring buildings.
well, it has to fit in color-wise, it can't be, but it has to fit in with your building, particular building. You certainly wouldn't want to look at Citizens Bank, say now they were going to change their signage and put something on. I don't think neon light would be appropriate to the building. However, a sign with large letters that are lit behind it would be appropriate as long as they weren't. I think it depends on the building. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
That take it back Monday or what?
It was.
John?
But how do you write that?
That's Zon's job.
Yeah,
No. Kara?
I agree.
I mean,
It's hard to write it, but I,
maybe if we talk to Mr. Zahn, maybe it's not that hard to do if you leave yourself some verbiage or leeway
Well, I'm
in the sign ordinance.
probably, or I'm sure other towns, cities have ran into this problem as well.
Yeah. I mean, I've always feel horrid when I have to say to, like, the little athletic, I can't remember the name.
Yeah, anytime.
Anytime Fitness, I say, I'm sorry, you know. But guidelines are guidelines, so,
I mean, and it's probably not that far-fetched either. I'm looking at one, like Hauenstein Beer. Okay, let's say somebody at an auction got a hold of a 1948 Hauenstein Beer sign that was on my bar, and we're gonna say no? Because it's bigger than 3 feet?
well,
I mean, they're out there, 'cause I know they're out there, the signs.
yeah.
I want to see it written so there's a little leeway with that. I mean, my God, the owner's willing, he spent $5,000 to get this sign. It doesn't fit our size and criteria, so we're not going to let him do it.
Was there a safety issue in regard to the depth of the sign?
I believe
not-
after a few of the awnings,
Well, I think it more dealt with the awnings
Right.
being like the Retzlaff one being the flat awning like that was with the snow load and stuff that,
Ben Franklin, didn't they have one of those too? that
yeah, there was
collapsed?
quite a few downtown.
and one
that's-
came down, and that's,
I think
that
that's when they-
timeframe was where they changed it.
That was new on Drug and Camera.
Well, Jordan Camera,
Right.
is that?
So
Okay,
they actually changed it and backed it up.
yeah, so where they came up with the 3 feet for overhang, I'm not quite sure how that got roped in at that point, but, we could take a look at other ones and see if 3
Yeah.
feet is
I-
the common denominator, or if they're all over the place.
You know, I'm looking at page 36 and granted it's horse and buggy era. But I cannot see allowing the meat market sign or the saloon sign going. It looks like the entire awning is covering the entire
Yeah, look at
Well, it goes out,
boardwalk.
that goes out to curb depth,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that's probably, but you look at the next building, it has a porch upstairs. It's,
Yeah,
Air conditioning. You know,
so
instead
I
of
mean, I
reinvent-
just can't see that we could allow that.
But you're not reinventing the wheel, but just some kind of verbiage that gives you that little scapegoat.
Right, and
Yeah,
I
you should
certainly,
allow
you know, I
this.
certainly would not, we'd mentioned the clock on the corner of the one by the Beehive, but
Right.
it's like the Patterson clock now, I mean, it's historic, you wouldn't ever want to take that down. So, yeah, I think you go back and talk to him and allow, but
okay.
Elwood, do we have one more meeting with him yet? Where he would come?
I think he would come down
Right.
if we asked him to, yeah.
Yeah, because looking at page like 38, the Dakota Hotel sign, that's historic, it's wonderful. It's probably coming more than 3 feet away from the building, because it's as far out as the awning, so would you turn that down? Well, I'd tighten it up, but Tauschik's is coming out quite a ways too, so,
Right.
yeah. Parking meters,
Mm-hmm.
And lots of snow on the other side.
Lots of snow.
look at the snow, yeah.
Piggly Wiggly, did you see that
Piggly
one?
Wiggly, I do see that, yes. This is fun. Okay, so is there any other further discussion you have on signage? Did you get what you think you need, Elwood?
Yeah, I get back with Mr. Zahn and,
Were we consistently inconsistent?
yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Pretty much.
We'll see what we can decipher with him.
Okay. Now I don't know if I can find my way all the way back to the top. And for the HPC chair report, the only thing I have there is that the bids have gone out, correct? You've released a bid for the RFP for the Herman Monument?
Correct, yes, we have a walkthrough on Thursday at 1:30 for any interested bidders. So we'll see who shows up for that. And then they're due a week after that or 2 weeks after that.
And you sent out to a number, quite a few people, and then it was
We sent out
advertised?
to 13 different outfits. It's been in the paper twice here. We have it on the Minnesota State Historical website. We sent it up there so they could post
Okay,
it.
post it.
So it's out there. We'll see what we get for walkthroughs, and then we had to tighten up the timeline of getting stuff back because of the second year of the biennium of the grants. They moved that up
To May.
yeah, the preliminary has to be done, I think has to be in May 25th, and the final is July 20th. So we're hoping to have that all back so we can, whatever is found up there, that we can hopefully apply for a grant and get monies for repairs at that time and keep the process moving through next year.
I won't be there on Thursday. I have a conference call with the architects for the museum. But good luck.
Yeah, we'll see who shows up, and,
It's always interesting who's leading the tour.
well, it'll be myself, will be up there, and our other inspector, Jason Spurgeon, and then
Okay.
Tom Schmitz and Ryan Wire, their facilities director. So we're hoping we get quite a few people up there and
Okay.
see what we get back for bids. And it's, to me, some of it's going to be intrusive investigation because I want them to get down to the footings of the base and see if we're structurally sound and get into the internal workings of it to see what problems we have and what we need to take care of, and go from there and see what we can do with the Gunite, and some research that we've done with staff. I've come up that there's reference to Gunite back to 51. And in 72, there was a time capsule put in with the Cornerstone. 72, they exhumed that and did some repairs at that time. But looking at that picture from 72 to a picture of that same corner that I took last year, all the same cracks and everything are still there. So it's,
Okay. David Mather and Dennis Gardner will be here on the 22nd, I believe the date is for, I've left a message with Tom Schmitz. I haven't heard back from him, and I'm going to call him again to see, because I would like to go down to Warju and
Yep.
look at that. I don't know if you want them to go up and look at Herman also. It may
we can,
be.
we can take them up there and see
It
what.
may be a good thing,
Yeah.
because they would be reviewing anything you did on it, so it would be good for
I
them to
think
be,
that's a good idea.
to be familiar with it. I think so. I don't know if there's anything else that, I will call Tom again, because I don't know if he wants him to look at Riverside at all, because there have been some questions about that, so.
With the deck, or the
The deck
accessible
and-
deck and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
if they're here, might as well hit them up as much as we can. I've got it down on my calendar that they're,
I probably want to talk to him a little bit about the museum too, but, because of what we're looking at, for that. So if anybody else has anything that they want to talk to him about, let me know, because I'm going to schedule them a little bit in the morning, the afternoon. They're doing a program at Castle on the state capitol renovations. And the only other thing that I have is, we have the Preservation Conference coming up in April, proposed in April.
well,
So-
that's for, if you've got any,
Speakers.
suggestions or stuff for, yep, getting back to,
Yeah. So if
Super cool.
anybody has any ideas for speakers, Mike Coop would be interested in hearing from you. Is there any other business to come before the commission? If not, I'd take a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you